welcome, guys. Now, we're going to get into our next little video, and I can't remember what part this is, but oh well. Let's make a little discussion on how we are going to proceed with this kit, or, script, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, because everybody has their own definitions, and everybody has their own little ways of thinking what type of structure. So let's just respect that in things. I'm going to call it structure. Some will say a design pattern, or other I don't know, other terms. But in any case, we are working with our light gunner class. Now, we have a few variables, and this is an inheriting class from our main class, which is fine. I mean, it does exactly what it needs to do. Now, for our light gunner class, the only variable that we're really concerned about is this weapon transform. That way we don't have to, get null references and call other just miscellaneous stuff. And two, we're going to need something to use for a look at script for later on to turn our camera in such a way that it turns our player and move around and stuff. Which we haven't designed one, but there's plenty of them around. We just have to make it simple. And we've got a running script. We have this script right here, which, in all honesty, I could probably do a better job of... Okay. Add tab. Inspector. Okay, so we got a second one here. And I'm going to open it up. All that good stuff. Expand so it's a little bit bigger and nicer, easier to see. And it's not showing up. Well, that's kind of dumb. Can I get it to show up? Probably not. No. It will not show up. Well, that's kind of dumb. Can I get it to show up this way? Nope. Well, that's kind of dumb. I mean, seriously. I know it's a new window and everything, but why won't you maximize? Ooh, there we go. There's a big window. Okay. And anyway, we got our transform, our little script, short gunner, and we got a transform for our weapons. And we have our basic slots. But in our rifle class, we got range, weapon layers, stuff that we need to layer mask out, damage, a reloading bowl, a shooting bowl, min accuracy, maximum accuracy, and accuracy. Now the reason why we have three variables like this is because we need to lerp. When we're shooting, we're lerping to our maximum inaccuracy. Our maximum amount it's going to be inaccurate. I mean, it's kind of a bad naming convention. And then, if we let go of the button, I want to lerp in a very quick fashion back to our minimal accuracy. That way, people can't just sit and make it where they've got just something that they can estimate. Like, I want them to have to manage their kickback of a weapon and things like that. Make it look as if the weapon is just going out of control. So you have to control your weapon. You just can't spray in such a manner that just doesn't make sense. I want it to, hey, the more you shoot, the more inaccurate it goes. And then lerp back down. When you don't shoot, it lerps to a minimal accuracy, like a very accurate gun, but when you're spraying, it just is crap. You can't hit a lot of things. Then we have a fire time and a fire time. I don't know why we got two. Then our maximum kick. Why is that there like that? But we got smooth time and stuff like that, which some of it. Now, you're probably looking at this up here, as in shooting logic, okay? This is what is called a Unity event, okay? In a Unity event, you can make functions where you go down here just like a button and do certain things. Now, I may not use this for this type of script, but I wanted to show you that it is possible, okay? I may not use it because of one or two reasons. One, Unity events was introduced in 4.6, okay? And because it's a form of event, Unity has its own like structure and own classes because it's its own definition of what I believe a delegate or event, okay, in the C# class. So I presume there's some type of garbage collection and some overhead for this, which, for a sniper rifle that shoots what, maybe one bullet per every 0.5 seconds, that wouldn't be bad in overhead possibly. But let's say you have a minigun or something that shoots a lot of times. Well, using an event that may have a little bit more overhead, it could be more overhead than you need, because you need something that's very efficient, which it may just be better just to write a script and make it just do raycasting by itself. No ifs, no else statements or anything. You just directly go toward it for what type of casting you want. A raycast, a spear cast, or whatever kind of cast you need for your weapon. And because we're using inheritance, we can always override and make more classes scripts to do the case that we need. And I hope that makes sense. I made a reload key, which this right here, I'm thinking about making just a static variable, so that way if we ever make a menu screen where we can rebind keys, all I'd have to do is get the static reference to a variable and then tell that variable to be whatever it needs to be. Fire key is always mouse 0. That's what the left clicky thing is. And these smooth time and offset times, they deal with the kickback and stuff, which I need to reorder some of this, but it does its purpose for now. So for the most part, we should close this out, and let's talk about some scripting stuff with this, so that way you can understand the concept of what we are trying to do here and why this is more flexible. Okay, so let's go over to our lovely coding blocks. Okay, so we're in our light manager, our light gunner script, which is inherited from weapon manager, which is a very easy class. It's got a static reference in case we want to do buttons. Remember, we need a reference to our weapon transform, because there's no sense in every single time we do a weapon or whatnot getting that kind of reference. And then by default, I made a slot. This slot 1 is for melee itself, and this is very easily, you can convert this slot 1, slot 2, slot 3. You can convert this over to a more of a basic class. If you really wanted to for your game, you can delete this variable, just call it slot, and then come in here and just make the thing, and then use inheritance to inherit from slot 1 to make more slots, or just use a variable by itself. And that's probably a little confusing to you, but it's very simple concept. Remember our weapon manager that I just had open? Well, it's the same thing as we're doing here. Weapon manager, then we add variables to this type, light gunner or vice versa. It's pretty much the same idea. The only reason that I wanted specific slot things is in case I wanted a custom virtual function, okay, for each individual slot, which we may go into or may not, but I wanted this function to be specific for this slot, so to be easier to write with. I know what script it goes into and just go with it. Now, you could still override this. This is a slot class, but if you wanted to do something with this, it would be not very hard whatsoever, and I'll show you this right now. Is call this slot dummy because it's just a dummy class. Okay, and we'll reload all. Okay, now we have slot dummy here. Well, instead of inheriting from mono, and let's just make sure we get rid of all this right here because we're going to basically rewrite everything. Instead of a mono behavior we're inheriting from, because that's what it's there for, we inherit from our slot class, okay? Because slot 1 is a class and all the functions are virtual, we can override these, and if we truly wanted to, we can go in here, instead of slot 2, we can now put slot dummy, okay? And this will be fine, okay? Because it's still technically a slot 1 or vice versa, okay? But here's the thing about it. This is the reason why I kind of hate inheritance or like it. Is I have to go through here, put public override, and then put on start public override, on update, and I can go through here and override all the stuff that we need to override in the slot 1 class. And I can use this as a regular class. It has the same definitions. I'm basically just taking the functions here, and when I go to my dummy class, if I want the base stuff and everything else, I call base.onStart, base.update, you know, and it will go, because I'm inheriting from slot 1, and I call the base script, it calls functions in here. Well, this spawn thing, this right here, I want to completely override and do something completely different. That's completely possible. Instead of doing this base.spawn, we just delete this. Do the override and replace the void and it'll work just like slot 1. We just make sure that all our functions are there, and we just override the functions as we need. It doesn't mean that slot 1 class is completely gone now. It just means that we have access to everything, and we pick and choose how we want it to function again. And I hope that makes sense, because it's pretty easy to imagine, as in this is a great example of it. Okay, let's say we got this sniper rifle class right here. Okay, it does all the stuff that we need, and okay, well, every time I shoot, I have a problem, because this is a sniper rifle. I need, every time it fires, to not do the invoke of this, but now I need an animation. I need to go animation dot play. Okay, and I know it doesn't have an animator and stuff, but every time reload. Okay, and we want to reload every single time it fires. We want to reload right after. Okay, well, you're like, okay, but the problem is with this approach is, guess what? Not all sniper rifles only shoot one time, and then I have to reload. So you're like, oh man, what do I do? How can I customize this to do what I want? Again, you know? Well, here is where inheritance and overriding comes into play. Remember our little dummy class or whatever? Well, for our sniper rifle, this is a class. And it's abstract, but it's mono, so it gets hooked up. And we have all these virtual functions, okay? So now I can go and look, hey, this class actually is really good for everything except the firing functionality. So in our dummy class right here, as an example, we can go sniper rifle. Well, sniper rifle, okay, that's fine, right? I want to override the fire function. So I go public override. And whichever one that I want to do, which I'm going to call it raycast. I don't want the base class, the one that I'm overriding, to run. So I go in here and I'm like, well, the sniper rifle, it does this firing functionality right here. Okay, in our dummy class, we're going firing. That's the one that we want to override. So we'll go in here. We'll go, hey, this is cool. We don't need to do any of that dumb stuff. Now we have where we can just do animation dot play and do the functions inside of it. This is code that doesn't work right now, because variables are missing and stuff. But I wanted to give you an example of how you can override the function. Now, say this is the only thing that you want to override. You can literally go through and do public override and put all the functions back in here and just override this one method. Now, which in C# they tell me that the base class and the start and things like that, you don't actually have to place these here, but Unity's a little weird, okay? In a regular C# class that's not related to Unity, it will default back to its base behavior, okay? So you don't have to do this override and base.start, which I find a little funny. It'll automatically fall back to it, to the base class for start, update, and things like that. But it always made me really weird about it. Like, really? Seriously? But I guess I might be wrong. I don't know. I just find it a little weird. Because I've written code in other... Or maybe that's something to do with Java. Maybe I'm thinking of Java. I don't know. But anyway, this is, you just place them all and call the base class. And it will do everything from the base class. Our sniper rifle class, we got all this stuff and things, virtual, start, update. Just override them all and call the base class. It will do the functions from the base class. So you don't have to mess with and copy all this code back over or anything like that and change the virtual to override. None of that stuff. Okay? You just overwrite the function that you need, and guess what? This slot dummy class right here, because it's overwritten in such a way, you basically probably made a completely another class in like 20 seconds, and you have, yeah, granted it's another script and you're overwriting one specific function, and you're like, well, why don't you just put an if statement in there or an enum and just do an if else? The whole point of it is to override the function, so I don't need if else or anything like that. All I have to do is go straight in and it will do it's like cutting all the middleman stuff out. See, I don't have to process the ifs or else or any type of statement. I just straight in there and invoke what I want and completely customize it any which way that I want. And then you could always be like, well, you could always just make a completely new class. Well, that's basically what we already are doing, is making a completely another class that inherits from where we want to go. All the basic stuff is taken care of. We're only overriding what we actually need to override to make a completely other gun. And I hope you followed in that logic. Because if this dummy slot thingy for another type of rifle, there is many different guns that, it doesn't have to be a sniper rifle. Well, it kind of does because we did slot base. But the whole point of it is, if you have one sniper rifle that is bolt action and only can shoot one at a time, then most likely you're going to use it in another weapon. And then you're like, well, yeah, that's probably true. It's perfectly logical that we're going to have more than one bolt action. I mean, there's a hunting rifle, then there's a 50 cal, and then there's all kinds of other ones. I mean, it doesn't have to be actually a reload animation. It just has to have the logic where it does the bolt action. We can always make a variable that goes, oh, and here's the other thing. The reason why I like it this way is, imagine each class as one that does multiple different things. If you make one class that can do multiple things, you have all these if else things that it has to process. Plus, because it's a sniper rifle, a lot of times you're going to make it extremely accurate. Well, then you have to play with variables that actually shouldn't even be there because you don't need it. A sniper rifle, it's what, gonna have like no spread pretty much. It shoots like perfectly straight. That could be what you want. Or it has a slight little bit of noise, a little bit of left or a little bit of right. You know, it doesn't have a spread maybe, or you know, there's tons of other things. You know, or maybe when you have a sniper rifle, you have different logic for the raycast. Let's say on a sniper rifle, you want this one to have some custom scoped information in there. Well, with overriding and being able to build a script that with inheritance, you can make custom functions in here that are specific to that rifle. Okay, and then there's your general inherited things. Okay, say this fire thing right here, we can put in the update where it updates the picture in the scope, or when you're sniping, you have an extra ray cast. Now this logic doesn't have to be on every single weapon, but your sniper rifle, so you can customize what you need to be there. Maybe on one of the rifles, by default, it comes with a line render where you can put a red dot in there, but you don't want that red dot to be for everything. You know, there's, or maybe here's another case. Maybe the red dot is a specialized thing for your class. And this is where it's really nice to be this kind of thing. Remember me saying that I was going to use a switch statement for specials and stuff? Well, we have our light rifle here, okay? His specialization should be light rifles, right? Well, we can call cool things like this. We have our weapon, okay? We have an integer for types, and then a load type, which basically is the weapon that we're going to be loading, okay? We have these cases. Well, slot 3 is weapon light rifles, okay? And we are a light rifle, light gunner class. So instead of a normal gun, we can call this special method right here, class bonus, which takes these two things, okay? But in our other stuff, we call weapon slots, and they are a normal spawn. Now let's take a look at these, okay? Slot 1, we have spawn. Spawn, just make sure we don't have the same thing. Instantiates game object and sets variables for melee, right? Normal stuff, alright? Now for the class bonus, okay, if we specialize in melee, we instantiate it, do our variable stuff, and we do a get component, okay, but we have this extra call in here, special, and it's for our go-to definition. It's a special function. Now I had one that was hooked up, is it this one? Ray casting and damage tag and kick, can fire. Okay, here's this bonus F. Okay, this is for a 308 rifle. If we are special, we're the sharpshooters and stuff like that, we can actually sit there and go, hey, take our damage and have it equal damage plus bonus, which bonus is a variable special to this class. This variable only exists in this class, not our inherited class. It doesn't have it, okay? Bonus damage, it does not exist until you get to the override child class, which pretty much, is our basic shooting logic, LARPing, doing that stuff, all that cool stuff, doing ray casting. And then here's what I mean by it can have special functions for this class only. See this class right here? This is a regular thing. We're passing variables and all that stuff. Okay, this is just something that's specific to this. Okay? And then, because we're doing bonus damage, because we're special, we specialize in sniping, not our light gunner class, but let's say a sniper class, okay, a sharpshooter class, okay. We call our bonus stuff, which is really cool because that's what we want. We want bonus damage because this is what we specialize in, So we get extra cool stuff. Okay, it does the spawning and does all kinds of the logic that it needs to do. Now the reason why I put current slot dot bonus and things is simple. Current slot is a melee. This is actually a weapon script. Now this weapon script doesn't do anything because it's an abstract class by itself. But if we go into hand-to-hand, okay, we are doing, it's a melee type that we're inheriting from. This is the script that you will be using to kill something. Okay, and we should have a public override bonus F, okay? We're calling this function in the weapon script itself. So when it does, let's see, where is that again? Not this one. And we don't really need this anymore. Oh, when we spawn everything in, we tell the script, hey, this is your bonus stuff, okay? Because remember, this current slot equals get component melee type. See, after we spawn it, we have this variable that we got to fill in, so that way our slot class can interact with it. Now this is the only place that it actually tells the weapon script what to do, okay? And I know this. This is why I have it designed this way, because anything that deals with spawning the weapon in and keeping track of it is in this class, okay? So anything that deals with the melee class and it's telling it what to do, spawn in and change the variables around for my slot, and then tell it what type it is. Do you get bonuses or do you not? Okay, by default you won't get anything besides the basic class. You punch, hit, kick, or whatever your melee class is, designed to do, which in this case is our hand-to-hand. So you're basically, this will probably be a beat 'em up style, and we can put everything we need for logic wise in here, okay? So when it comes to logic of what the melee hand-to-hand stuff should do, when I am looking, finding bugs like, hey, let's say the hand kind of stinks, I go to punch and it doesn't do anything. Well, I'll look at the weapon that's spawned in and I'll go, hey, this is the hand-to-hand script. Okay, that's cool. Where's my damage? Where's my layer mask? And I have to adjust in here. And I know this because this is the way its structure. Anything to deal with the actual weapon logic itself is in the weapon script itself. Anything dealing with spawning it into the world is done by the slot class itself. Okay? So that it keeps it in a structure that you can override and look into and be able to customize in a lot of ways, you know. And two, if there's bugs, there's a problem with melee where it won't spawn anything in, then I know it's in slot 1, or it's the button that I use to fill in that information. I can track down bugs a lot faster because I know what script to look into. I know what the complete structure of the project is. If it was a regular class like everything else, like let's say no. Okay, now I got an error because of slot dummy. That's okay because I want to delete that slot, that class. Okay, and we will go into our weapon class, our other weapon script, which is going to be where? Let it load up, and I will show you what I mean. Okay, you gonna open? 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 Hello? Open? Okay. But it's a whole idea, okay? Is this stuff, okay? Is in our update we're looking for stuff, doing this, and then we go down to fire time equals weapon data dot thing, and you know, we have all these things where if it's not null, and we have spawning in, you know, if I go to change something, it's very difficult because of the way this is structured. And if I want to do some other type of script, like instead of anim base right here, and put maybe an animator, then I can't do it. Or it starts looking more like this. If weapon dot shotgun, if not, do this, and you have all these while, you know, you have different stuff. Okay? And I'm fine with, you know, doing some of these if and else statements, because some of them's not, it's completely unavoidable. But this script is designed for an impossible, not impossible, but a high amount of variety of weapons. And as you begin to code, well, as you get to the stage of more and more weapon types that you want to do, you notice a pattern when you're coding that you have an insane amount of different varieties to do. And then you have more ifs, else, if else, if else, if else, and then you're like, I have a ton of cases that, you know, is just running constantly every frame or every other frame, and it becomes harder to code for more and more weapons. And that's the reason why I leaving this type of approach and going toward an inheriting class, because the overriding is so much more cleaner and easier to work with. Because this is doing way too much work when it comes to different things. I mean, I got shoot actions that are invoking and things like that. When in reality, this burst fire thing, we can actually make this very easy, not do this invoke, but just have it work like the shotgun. Okay, well, not that, but it it's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a lot more harder. And this weapon system, this, a lot of it is being done with oh, here's another thing. Okay, here's the thing that I can't stand is, let's say you want a Gatling gun. It makes no sense to have a gunplay script on it. No sense, because it you know, you're not going to have weapon sway where you're programmatically moving it side to side or up and down. I mean, you know, you just have it in your hand. There's none of that stuff. It makes no sense to have a zoom on a Gatling gun. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. It flat out doesn't. Okay? It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay? So I have these extra variables that's running, okay, in the background. It's seriously running every single frame. Okay? And when I do weapon use this script, I have to put my weapon sway to basically nothing, so it doesn't sway back and forth. Okay, and you're probably like, well, you can use a bool. Well, that's another thing. Now I have another evaluation for every single gun that I have of, hey, is it a Gatling gun, or is it this, or that, or that, or that? And it's just more and more code that your computer has to evaluate, when you don't have to do it that way. You can literally just override the method and override the class in such a way that just makes more sense. And you know, this item thing, current weapon, and then it does this stuff. We don't have to do all this stuff. Okay, I'd rather have a class that looks more like this. Okay, and every single class is small like this. Okay, it has exactly what it needs. If it doesn't need something, you go in here and you just go bloop, delete, gone. Versus, hi, this doesn't take min accuracy, let's do a different let's do an enum to switch it over to what it needs, which is basically something of the nature of probably this, I'm thinking. Where's those if else statements? Okay, if else, weapon callbacks, you got a firing. I mean, this is actually pretty clean. I'm not going to lie to you. This is pretty clean in my instance. I mean, you got shotgun stuff. But, okay, here's another example. I got this ray firing class, this function right here. Because of the way this is designed, every weapon does ray cast firing. If I don't want it to do something of that nature, I have to go up here and do some if else statements. Okay, and two, it's like I said before, this animation part, one, you're gonna have this, okay, in anything. You're gonna have an animation that's really nice for, you know, maybe your sniper rifle, that works really nice because it's mechanism driven. But then you have your older assets, and there's this really good gun that you have, and it uses the legacy system. And you're like, oh crap, how am I going to work with this? Okay. So you're going to basically go in here and you're going to go, hey, I either have to make a custom class for it, so we tell the custom class what to do with the animation system, or you do something like this. If anim is let's say animation equals null, then do this animator stuff, and then you have another one who goes, if animator equals null, do this stuff. Okay, and you know, it's okay. I mean, it's fine with me. I don't care, you know. But I look at this and I'm like, there's got to be a better way. Because all it would take is if we go over here and put an extra curly brace, and then you don't know what the heck's going on with your program because you've got this one extra little bit of character, you know. And these little curly braces right here, these will do you over. If you got these out of order in some form of way, you could have your gun where it's constantly reloading or something really dumb, you know, and you can't figure out what's going on. I mean, eventually you would figure it out, but it's one of those things where it could take you a while. So that's why I'm going with this direction versus an older type. Okay, we can customize stuff in such a way that just makes a lot more sense. And two, when the error messages come, it's a whole lot easier for Unity to tell you what's wrong, where the bug problem is. The devil's in the details. The devil is very into the details. Because I can put anything in this rifle 308 and use it for 3 different guns, and then I know where the bugs are, you know, without crashing every single weapon in the game, because it uses all the same script, you know. So there's the plus side for it. So I went over this kind of functions, okay, because this case 3 is our light rifle. We get the bonus stuff, which is really nice. We call function in here and get our bonus stuff. If it's the other types, we don't get any bonuses whatsoever. We just spawn it into the world just normally. There's nothing in here that says, hey, I'm a melee specialist, so I should get extra bonus or extra. You can put the bonus as anything you want. I mean, just because I say that it's slot 1 doesn't mean that, hey, slot 1. Oh, yeah, and that's the thing about it. Slot 2 right here, this is a class that can be overwritten too. I mean, you could override this class right here again. These virtual functions right here can be overwritten to a totally different thing. So let's say we have our light gunner class right here. Well, we don't want anything here. We don't want nothing here. This. Well, our light gunner and our slot class. Let's go into our heavy gunner. Rah! You know, he has slot 1, 3, and 4. Okay. Well, we can always use an overridden version of the slot class. And whatever you name it, because slot 1 is, it's got all these virtual functions, you can override it again, just like we do with the weapons. So you can just basically go out and go, hey, do this. Instead of using slot 2, you can override and make your own custom class, and you just have to change the variables right here and make sure that you put all the overrides in your other class and customize it in a way that makes sense for you. And I say this because if you have a special case where the let's say our heavy gunner gets a bonus to melee, okay? Well, you don't want slot 1 class to be you just don't want to fiddle around with the class whatsoever. You just want to make it the way you want and just put one specific special case just for him, where he gets, let's say you want him just to instant kill everything that he just hits. Well, you can make a method inside the weapon that just does, hey, do a box cast or something, and when he swings, he just destroys everything. Or maybe you want this one slot 1. What could I give an example of? Oh, you want to override the bonus stuff. Instead of doing this bonus class right here, you override this method and tell it to do, instead of bonus F, make it say bonus, call a different function inside that does unbonus. Like, his accuracy goes really extremely bad. Okay, so the slot you overwritten and told it, hey, instead of slot 1, be this heavy weapon, whatever you call it, place it here. So you have all your basic functionality still, but instead of calling bonus F in slot 1 here, you would call a different method here, because you're just overriding it again. But like I said, you want everyone else to use this script, so you just do an override and make it into a different thing, and then go, I want to do unbonus. So that way the heavy gunner goes, hey, the heavy gunner, he sucks at melee, so you make him really bad. Like, he can't hit nothing. Like, he's got extremely bad mischance. Or maybe you go, the heavy gunner, he can use a sniper rifle, but instead of being extremely accurate with the sniper rifle, you make a special function in here that goes unbonus, take the accuracy, like, and make it very bad. Like, he shoots like a mile away from the target. He just looks really badly. And so you can equip the sniper rifle and try, but it's not gonna work. And I hope you get the point of this, because I think you would benefit if you're looking to write classes for a first-person shooter or something of that sort. I think this type of approach will be very handy in development. Okay? Because when it comes to guns, you're going to have a whole different ball game when it comes to cases, because if you want to change the sniper rifle where it uses physics bullets, but you don't want to change every single other gun, sure, you can do an event and stuff, but in order to do physics bullets, you might have to have some very special code for doing trajectory calculations. So, hey, you don't want to do those trajectory calculations when you're not using a physics bullet someplace else. You know, I mean that's just the way it goes. So, but I think this video has gone on long enough, and I hope you learned something today. And I hope to give you guys a example of a perfectly, maybe I'll do the buttons next to tell it, hey, do this, because I've got the basic logic down here. Maybe we'll do some weapon classes, some done versions of it, or prototypes in itself. That way you get a better understanding of how to write a weapon script specific for maybe a need that you have. But I hope you learned something in this example video, and I hope you get how I'm doing this spawn and then this, and then using our actual managing class right here, like light gunner, heavy medic, things like that, to use this switch statement here to call the function for the case that we actually need. And the great thing about this part right here, this only gets called once. Okay? This only gets called once. And then we let the weapon script do its thing. But when it comes to the weapon script, when we're doing physics and all that other stuff, it does exactly what it needs to do. It only does it one time, and it does it extremely quick. So this is War, your little buddy here, and enjoy your day, night, Friday night. It's October 7th. So peace, and keep on learning, keep on pushing. And worst case scenario, if it don't work, try a different way. But always keep learning. Thanks, guys, and appreciate your time. Bye-bye.